The Library of Congress contains 16 million books. It's the largest library in the world. And yet, every single one of those books is comprised entirely of the same 26 letters. Let that sink in for a second. 26 tiny letters that, when rearranged in different combinations, create worlds, emotions, feelings, adventures out of nothing. To me, that sounds like magic. My name is Miss Cutshall, and I believe that books are magic, but so many people in the world are missing out on it because they've decided, oh, I'm not a reader. And when people tell me I'm not a reader, my response is always the same. You just haven't found the right book yet. You haven't felt that magic hook pull you into a story. And when I say magic, I'm not literally talking about wizards and spells, although Harry Potter is one of my very favorite books. In fact, Harry Potter might be the book that has had the greatest impact on me as a reader. I picked up the book Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for the first time when I was 11 years old, the same age as the title character, and I was totally hooked. I could not put those books down. They were an escape from everyday life. I love the phrase, getting lost in a book, because that's what it felt like. I could get lost in the halls of Hogwarts. My childhood copy of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire has been read so many times it is held together entirely of duct tape. That's the way books should be. They should be well loved and read again. For me, this series opened the door to the world of reading. It made me wonder what else is out there that I was missing. Now, fantasy is my go-to genre, but in middle school I was assigned to read The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Speer, and this is a totally different book than anything I had ever enjoyed reading before. It's historic fiction. It's about a girl named Kit. She's growing up in the colonies in the 1600s, and it was so interesting for me to learn about the colonies from her point of view in a story, as opposed to reading about them in a textbook. It's eye-opening to see the way she lives and how different it is than the way I live. On the flip side, sometimes I read a book and the main character is exactly like me, and that is the case in Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. The main character, Kath, is a freshman in college, and I swear the first time I read it, I thought Rainbow Rowell must have been following me around in college, writing down everything I did and said, because that is how much alike it felt. Reading this book, I am the main character. I can feel what she's feeling, the things she struggles with, I struggled with. It really helped me understand myself better reading about her in this book. So I've clearly explained that I love to read, but now the question is, who else is reading? Or more importantly, who is not reading? This is a very famous infographic that's been flying around the internet lately, saying things like 25% of people over the age of 16 have not read a book in the last year. One Washington Post article says, does it even matter? Does it even matter if people are reading fewer works of literature? What if we're reading less Tolstoy, but filling the void with, say, Facebook statuses from our friends and articles we read online? It does matter. If you are not reading, you are missing out. Some studies have shown that reading helps build our empathy. Empathy meaning that we can feel what other people are feeling. A book can give us direct access to another person's mind in a way nothing else can. Another study showed that people that were stressed needed to only read for about 6 minutes before they showed visible signs of becoming less stressed. Their muscles untensed, their heart rate slowed. Overall, the study showed that reading decreases stress about 70%. We live in a very stressed out world. We need to be reading. Now, schools are doing their best to instill a love of reading in kids, assigning reading homework, but we're fighting with sports and video games and anything else that kids would rather be doing after school except for reading. But what we need parents and kids to understand is how a little bit of reading can go a long way. This infographic shows if student A reads 20 minutes a day, look how much they will have read over a year, as opposed to student C who just reads 1 minute a day. It's exponential. My point in sharing all this information with you is not to discourage you, it's to motivate you. But maybe you don't know where to start. It's so overwhelming. There's so many books out there. There are already lots of lists of great books out there in the world. The New York Times bestseller list is awesome for adult fiction. Caldecott and Newbery medals are awards for children's books that are exceptional. And while I said moments ago that Facebook cannot fill the void that reading can fill, there are some social media sites that can help us with our reading. Goodreads is a wonderful website. It lets you connect with friends, see what they're reading, keep lists. You can rate your books that you've read, and then it'll even give you recommendations based on those ratings. The thing that I am most encouraged about lately is The Great American Read. It's a documentary series that aired recently on PBS, and it was looking for America's best loved book. It started with a list of 100 really fabulous books you should look into, really. And it narrowed it down and talked about the books. It had interviews with people explaining how these books impacted their lives. It made me emotional just watching people say that this book changed their life. And books do. Books change lives. And because I'm sure you're wondering, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee was the first book, but Harry Potter was number 3. I was pretty excited about that. All this to say, books are magic. Books make us better. They help with our imagination, they help with our empathy, they help us escape to different worlds. So if you've given up on reading, I'm begging you, I implore you, please give it another try. Join a book club, do Goodreads, ask a librarian for a recommendation. Try another book. You just haven't found the right book yet. Thank you for listening.